Hi all, this is Maria Clark at Sweet Willow Designs and welcome to my studio. This is Winter Plaid Plate 2. In the last video I did the blue plaid plate. In this video I'm doing the red plaid, and this is kind of a doodle and dot project. So we'll do some doodling. I'd like to show you a little bit about how I designed this, and then we'll get started with the dotting. For tools and materials, I'm using my regular set of Crystalite crochet hooks and nail dotters. I'm also using the Serral transfer paper, a gold Sharpie. This is an oil-based Sharpie, and I'm using the Gloss Enamels Metallic in Glorious Gold. So these tools and materials are really fun. Now, I haven't used the Sharpie before in a project, so we'll see how that works. Now I'd like to give you a little peek into my designing process. I usually design on my iPad, but you could do this on paper just as well. And I've got a little time lapse of me doing the designing. I actually start off with just some individual elements and then look to how I can put those together. So I scanned in the plate, just an image of the plate, and I've got these little design elements that I had drawn, and now I'm just placing them over the plate so I can see what they might look like, and I'm putting them together, changing out the thicknesses, adding different design elements as I go along, so I get a good sense of how I would like this to look. And it's really just playing around. Now again, if you don't have an iPad or a computer that you work on, this is easy to do on paper if you just maintain your sketchbook, and as you doodle out little designs, you can figure out how to put them together by changing the size of them and where you place them and the orientation. And you're often able to come out with a really fun and interesting design. I also kind of play around with the line thickness, see what it would look like with bolder lines, lighter lines, and just try out a variety of things. And then I just take those away and see how I like the individual design. So in the end, I end up with a design that I like, and I'm able to then take that design and convert it. I use Adobe Illustrator, but again, that's just technical. I actually go ahead and convert it to a drawing page. These are going to be available in my Etsy shop if you're interested. They'll come in several sizes. I have a 10-inch, 8-inch, 7-inch, and 5-inch, so that you can use these on lots of different projects. Now, I'm doing it on a plate, but you could use the same design element to go into a canvas and do some other dotting. I might try that a little bit later in another project. But at any rate, I like this, and I'm going to use this as a transfer onto this plate. So here's the plaid plate, and it's this really bold and black graphic red, and I just really love this. So what I'll do is look at these various ones that I printed out and see what size works. The 10-inch is just way too big. I think this might even be a 10-inch plate. So I'm looking at the 8-inch here and how I might like to orient that, and then there's a couple of smaller designs, but ultimately I think the 8-inch is the one that's going to work the best. So then I'll just go ahead and cut that out. Now this is a curved surface, so I want to get as much of that paper off as close to the design as I can, because I want it to be able to fit on the curved surface. If I have too much paper, that paper just gets in the way. So before I get started, I need to clean this plate. I'm just using some alcohol and on a pad, and I'll just get that plate really, really nice and clean, get all the fingerprints and oils and smudges off of it so that I can do the best transfer that I can. And then I'll let that dry, and I'm able to take my pattern and place it on the plate. And I will tape it down just to keep it lined up well so it's not slipping. Not entirely sure how this transfer paper is going to work on this surface, so I don't want to take a chance of having that pattern slip around. So I'll put a few little pieces of tape down, and I can still get the transfer paper under it. This is a little sampler pack. It's got different colors of transfer paper in it, and I'm using the white. And I'll just slip that under the pattern. And then using one of my nail styluses, I will just trace around that pattern. And that's the nice thing about having this taped down, because sometimes you miss different sections of the tracing, and you want to be sure that you don't misalign that pattern. All right, so I've traced it. You can see it. It's pretty hard to see, actually. It's not as dark a line as I would like, but I can see it. And then I'm going to be using this oil-based Sharpie. This is a medium. You've got to shake it up and prime it and pump it, and then you're ready to draw with it. So this is a medium point. I think I'm also going to pick up, I think, some fine points and some ultra fine points, because I thought the medium point was good. It was bold enough, certainly, for this drawing that I'm doing, but I'd like to have some other thicknesses so I can vary that out a little bit. So now I'm just following along, and I'm just going to trace out my design. Now you'll notice that this is a doodle, so it's not, perfect. There's those circles aren't perfect and that type of thing, but it's going to be, I think, a nice effect in the end. So I'll just go ahead and continue to trace that. Because this is so repetitive, I'm going to go ahead and put a little music on. Don't forget, you can mute it if you don't like the music. And I will come back and talk a little bit more about the next part of this designing process. All right, so I've completed all of the line work, and I'm just going to go back in and kind of take a look at it. Where I think there's some of the lines are not as bold as I'd like them to be, I'm just going to go over them a little bit and add a little bit of extra paint. And now let's take a look at what the line work looks like. That looks really good. Now you can decide if you want to just leave it with the line work or if you want to go ahead and add the dots. I am going to go ahead and add the dots, and I'm going to be using the DecoArt Gloss Enamels Glorious Gold. It's a nice rich metallic, and it matches the gold of the Sharpie fairly well. Now, I'm not going to be giving you any tool references or anything because this is a doodle and dot. So once you put your doodle down, you can just go ahead and use whatever size tool works to go ahead and put your dots in. So I will get my first center dot and just start anywhere you want to start. I'm going to start right here in the center. And then I'll use my nail dotters to just start to fill in some of the spaces here. I'm going to go between the nail dotters and whatever size dotting tool, the Crystalite hooks that I think work. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting in dots. And again, this is really random, so just put them in wherever you think they should go. And then just using my nail dotters, I'll start to add some more. And again, just wherever you think that it's best to place those. And this is where you can add as much as you like or as little as you like. I'm going to go ahead and add, I think, quite a bit of dotting here because I want the extra texture that the dots add, that add a little bit to that empty space. I like to have a little bit of the plaid, quite a bit of the plaid showing actually, but there's some points where you want to mute that a little bit. Now, this is very repetitive. So I'm going to go ahead and put the music on. Don't forget you can mute it if you don't like the music, and I'll be back to talk a little bit later in the video. I've done most of the random dotting, and now I'm going to go ahead and, or dotting within the pattern. Now I'm going to go ahead and start to add some little flourishes outside of the pattern. And again, this is just spaced on where I look at the design, what I think might look nice. I haven't drawn anything out. You could draw the shape out, these little flourishes and little swooshes if you like, but I'm just going to go ahead and start dotting, and then I'll curve them around when I want them to have a curve and have a little spiral at the tip there. So again, I'm just looking at the design and kind of deciding where I need to add just a few little extra elements. And then I'm going to go in with a little 3 dots, again just randomly, and I'm going to start to move those out a little bit further onto the plaid. And then occasionally I'll add just a single dot, but mostly they're in sets of 3 occasional single dots, and I'm just going to pull that pattern up just a little bit onto the plate. And I think I'm done dotting. I love the texture that that adds, and I think it's really, really pretty. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look at this. See how it's a little bit organic because this is a doodle and that we've dotted on. And I've gone ahead and set that aside, and it's dried for a good 24 hours. Now I want to take off the chalk mark from the Ceral transfer paper. I'm just using a very lightly damp cotton swab, and I'll go ahead and look for where I have chalk marks that I need to take off. And I'll just go ahead and start getting those out. And I'm just going to go over it very, very, very lightly. I'm not rubbing hard. I'm just using a little bit of the dampness of the Q-tip, kind of moving along the lines here to pick up that chalk. And now I'm finished. Isn't that pretty? I love the way that looks. It would really be nice hanging in your kitchen or as decor in some other part of your home. I think this is really pretty, and the winter plaid is just, I just love that. All right, so here's the finished piece. It's a little bit bright because of the lights that I used to photograph it, but it looks really great. I really am pleased with the way this turned out. I really hope you've enjoyed this project, these last 2 winter plaid plates. Please let me know. I'd love it if you'd subscribe or leave me a comment or give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate hearing from you. And as always, I want to thank you for joining me in my studio. Take care.